may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
All right, guys. Every single day, Premier Gang is growing. I don't know how it's still going at this rate, but now we have like 50, 60 people watching the videos live, all chatting through, and I can actually go through and answer an insane amount of questions. I know we get a ton of questions in the comment section of every video, and I try my best to go through and pick out a few to answer in every single video. But I'm not going to lie, it's hard. I already work about 70 hours a week making this and going through with all the other channels at the same time. So it's hard for me to make sure that I'm answering every question in the comment section, but during those premieres, I am able to get back to pretty much everyone that has a question, as well as during the live streams. So if you want to come out to the premieres, if you want to come out to the live streams, what you need to do is, first off, I know everybody's already subscribed to the channel. I can see the advanced analytics with our watch time with subscribers versus without. So I know you're already subscribed to the channel. But if you want to come out during the premieres and chat with everybody else live, make sure that you have your notification bell hit next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified whenever the video or the live stream is premiering. But that's it. What we are going to do is we are going to go through and look at our recent live streams where we have been conducting mock draft after mock draft. And we are going to identify some running backs that continue to fall where maybe at the beginning of the offseason, I thought that they were overvalued, but they've fallen 3, 4, 5 rounds since the beginning of the offseason. And now we have to try to reevaluate this new price point and go, you know what? Yeah, I mean, they were overvalued in the 5th round, but are they actually going to be a target for us once they get down to the 10th? So let's just dive right into it. And the first running back that I'm going to be wanting to talk about was one of our biggest fades last offseason, and this is Kenyan Drake. Okay, so obviously the reason that Kenyan Drake has been falling this offseason is people finally are waking up to the fact that Kenyan Drake does not have a guaranteed starting job on an NFL franchise this next season. And it would be a little bit different if he was coming up to the end of his transition tag and Kenyan Drake had a long history in the NFL of being able to handle a starting running back type workload. But we know he wasted so many years in Miami where he never got that opportunity. And then in 2019, he had about a 4-game stretch where he looked like one of the premier running backs in the entire NFL. And outside of that, we really have never seen Kenyan Drake in a 3-down role on any NFL team. That's why we were avoiding him coming into this last football season. And I think that's why a lot of Kenyan Drake owners who are expecting him to sign as a starting running back on an NFL team, maybe that is the Arizona Cardinals, maybe that's the New York Jets, I think that they are actually going to be disappointed. Because if we go through and we look at every landing spot available for a Kenyan Drake, there really aren't that many appealing landing spots. I mean, you have San Francisco, but we don't necessarily know if they're going to be looking to make that investment into the running back position. You have the New York Jets, which in my opinion is actually probably the most likely spot to bring in a veteran running back, whether or not that's Aaron Jones, whether or not that's Kenyan Drake. But still, even if Kenyan Drake gets signed there and is given a 3-down role, we don't necessarily love that situation, as it's going to be a very tough spot to get to the end zone, to ever really put up a significant amount of fantasy value. But what I think we're actually going to end up seeing with Kenyan Drake, who through the majority of his college and NFL career has been a committee running back up until this point, and with Kenyan Drake, he is definitely on the wrong side of the age curve for the running back position. I think we are probably going to end up seeing him sign with the team to be in a running back by committee and have even less touches in 2021 than he previously had in 2020. Teams that I'd be looking at to be a sneaky contender to bring in Drake would be someone like the Jacksonville Jaguars, where we know, I mean, James Robinson is legit. James Robinson is the man. But a team like that doesn't have the depth at the running back position, yet has so much money to throw around in NFL free agency, and they have a ton of draft assets this season, I think possibly that's a team that looks to bring in Kenyan Drake to not be a starting running back, but to be a running back that is giving the starter a little bit of a break. Maybe he's in a split where he is getting 30% of his backfield touches compared to the starter's 70. So with Drake, I know that he's falling. I've been seeing him go to the 10th, 11th round of startups, and I will say once he gets down to that 11th, 12th round range where all of the wide receivers like Laviska Shenault, Henry Ruggs, and all those type players are gone, then I'm willing to go, okay, it's time to take a shot. It's time to go and see if we have any upside here, because it is still in the range of outcomes for the Arizona Cardinals to bring Kenyan Drake back and give him a similar role to what he had last season. And yes, I know last season he was a low-end running back too, so even best case scenario for Kenyan Drake is not that good. But he's fallen to the point where I think now we can finally consider drafting him. Whereas at the beginning of the offseason, I was crying watching people draft him in the 5th round as if they had no idea what was going on. But I think finally he's fallen to a point where you can consider drafting him. All right, so now let's get to our next running back, someone that I was screaming to sell high halfway through the year this last season. And this is going to be Darryl Henderson. So I know y'all are going to be extremely annoyed, like y'all always are, whenever I go through and I like a player or I dislike a player 6 months ago, and then the entire Dynasty community in the echo chamber that it is completely flips their tune, and the price either craters or it skyrockets, and I find myself on the other side of the fence. But I think that's where we are at with Darryl Henderson, where halfway through the season, when people were looking at PFF grading him as the #1 running back and people wanted to scream at me, telling me that he was as talented as Cam Akers, and I just sat there shaking my head knowing the type of player Cam Akers was. At that point, of course, he was way, way, way overvalued. But I am having people on Patreon right now send me draft boards where Darryl Henderson in highest stakes dynasty drafts, highest stakes dynasty startups, is going around round 19. At a ridiculous price point where he's just a complete afterthought. He's going after rookie running backs that are going to be drafted in the 5th and 6th round this season. So Darryl Henderson, he's not a starting running back. Yeah, he's not the guy that a lot of people thought he was halfway through the year. But where he's fallen, he is 100% a value in Dynasty, where I am going to be consistently drafting him at the back half of my drafts if his price point stays at this point. Because worst case scenario with Darryl Henderson, yes, I agree with y'all. I've been on this train the entire time. I have Cam Akers everywhere. Cam Akers is the starting running back in Los Angeles. Darryl Henderson is not going to be playable any game that Cam Akers is active. But Henderson was drafted in the 3rd round of 2019. He already proved that when he does get the opportunity, he can be an impact player. So I think at this point, he is one of the most premium handcuffs in all of fantasy football. We have to be looking at him exactly with how we are viewing a player like Tony Pollard, going, you know what? I can't start him when the starting running back on his team is healthy. But as soon as that guy goes down, he becomes a premium ad. He becomes someone that goes right into my starting lineup. And he's still on that rookie contract, so he's going to have this backup role for the next 2 to 3 years. Darryl Henderson, easily someone that I'm going to be trying to add in on the back half of my roster. All right, so now our next running back, someone that I've been screaming to avoid since last offseason, and people literally laughed. I literally went trending for talking about why this player was a sell for me, Aaron Jones. And yeah, I know that it was a meme last offseason going, hey, look at this clown saying to sell Aaron Jones because the Green Bay Packers decided to take A.J. Dillon in the 2nd round. Well, at this point, everybody is finally realizing, oh crap, Aaron Jones is an unrestricted free agent. The Green Bay Packers aren't necessarily in a great spot with their cap situation. Aaron Jones is probably out of Green Bay, probably out of one of the best offenses in football. And we know that the team was already preparing for this last offseason by drafting A.J. Dillon in the 2nd round. So now people are realizing with Aaron Jones, crap, he's risky. He's the same age as Todd Gurley. What are we going to be doing with him? And I will say Jones is the profile of a running back that doesn't necessarily need to be playing in one of the best offenses in the NFL to be productive. That's not why I'm avoiding him. I think that he could land in Miami. And if he lands in Miami with a nice starting contract, he can easily be a running back 1 for 2021. But what we have to question with Aaron Jones is what is the long-term value of Jones, because we know these veteran running backs, as soon as they are off their rookie contracts, they will never increase in dynasty value. That has been shown season after season after season. Like, literally bring up 3 examples in the past 5 years for me of a veteran running back after he signed his second contract, increasing his value based on the play that he had in a season. You literally can't come up with 3 examples. And yes, if you draft Aaron Jones, he can still represent a value if he comes out and he posts multiple running back 1 seasons from here on. But drafting Aaron Jones, trading for Aaron Jones, having him on your roster pretty much commits you to never trading him away. I'm putting him in the same bucket as an Amari Cooper, as a Mike Evans, where if you want to ride out the production for the next few years, if you want to ride him until retirement, that's fine. And that's where we have the argument on what his price should be in Dynasty if you're wanting to do so. But never plan on trading for Aaron Jones and then thinking that you're going to be able to sell him higher at any point, because that's just not going to happen. And with Jones, lately he's been going in the 6th round of Dynasty startups, where he's kind of being in that range right before the Jerry Jeudy, right before the Terry McLaurin tier. And there, I still think I prefer to have the Brandon Ayuk, the Terry McLaurin, the wide receivers that we can safely say are going to be impact players for us for the next 3 to 4 years. Where maybe if you're playing in a weird format, where maybe it's a 14-team league where you definitely have to prioritize getting running backs early, or you have a win now construction, that's when we would lean with Aaron Jones. But I still don't think I want to be paying the price with the massive discount that you are getting. All right, so now y'all know on the main fantasy football channel, I just posted my top 24 running back rankings for the 2021 season, not Dynasty. But this running back didn't even make the top 24 for 2021, and he has no long-term value in my opinion at all. Chris Carson. Now, I don't know why in every single league you have a Chris Carson truther. You have someone that watches him run aggressively and goes, Mason, he is a man. Mason, he is going to sign somewhere. He's going to be a starting running back. And I am looking at the situation going, historically speaking, no, most likely that's not going to happen. We know the NFL is always more willing to give the guy who had the draft capital originally that second contract, regardless of the production through their rookie contract. So Chris Carson being a 7th round pick by the Seattle Seahawks back in 2017 makes it where he does not check that box. And on top of that, with Chris Carson, we know that another thing that NFL teams like to avoid is the running back that consistently gets injured season after season after season. And recently there was a report coming out that the Seattle Seahawks were not planning on bringing Chris Carson back. I'm very excited, hopefully, to see Rashad Penny finally in a starting running back role. Now, I don't want to be sounding the alarms too early on that. I don't want to be getting too excited. But anyway, Carson is someone, in my opinion, that is going to be signing to another team in a backup role. I really have no interest in the slightest of drafting Chris Carson. I would rather have a Laviska Shenault. I would rather have a Jalen Reagor. I would rather have a Henry Ruggs. Really, any wide receiver that was drafted in the top half of the NFL draft last season. I just like the better long-term bet rather than with Chris Carson. I think that you really are not going to have much value anytime soon. All right, so now let's go to a pair of running backs that I was just completely avoiding last offseason. Zack Moss and Devin Singletary. Now, y'all know if y'all been following the channel for a while, I've been talking about how neither one of these guys have any upside whatsoever, and that's based on a few things here. One, that's based on the fact that Buffalo does not want to run the ball. Also, we know with Buffalo that this is a team that Josh Allen is going to continue to vulture touchdowns at the goal line. This is what we saw in Arizona with Kyler Murray this past season. And Josh Allen, with his rushing ability, is not going to be looking to consistently check the ball down. So Zack Moss and Devin Singletary, very, very limited in their upside. We're never going to see either running back seeing 20-plus carries a game consistently. And we don't necessarily even know how talented either one of these running backs are. But what I can say is, I can say the people in my mentions, the people in the comment section telling me that Buffalo is going to draft a running back this season, they are completely wrong. I think based on the investment that this team has decided to make into Zack Moss and Devin Singletary, where they were both drafted in the 3rd round of the back-to-back 2019 and 2020 NFL drafts, I think that Buffalo has already made their commitment to the running back position. I think that this is one of the few safe running back rooms that you can invest into. And yeah, I mean, I hated the price point of both of these guys last offseason, but it's literally been cut in half and nothing's really changed from where we were. So I think at this point, if we can continue to draft Zack Moss and Devin Singletary in like the 14th round of Dynasty startups, that's going to be something I'm willing to do. All right, now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.